Welcome to MetLife Stadium, where the Jets welcome in the AFC South leaders in the Houston Texans and a pair of California quarterbacks taking center stage in Aaron Rodgers and C.J. Stroud. But of course it's Halloween, so we got some costumes as Mario and Luigi make their way into the stadium. So is Cat Williams, that's Tony Adams. And then, of course, there's Quantez stickers underneath the mask there, if no one can know. And then after that, we got Hanky. We don't know who that is. We don't know who actually is dressed up as Hanky. But you're watching Pregame Central presented by USBI. We're out here in the tailgate zone. Brian Baldinger batting leadoff, Quincy Nunwa, Eric Allen, Ethan Greenberg. Jets Texans around the corner in a couple of hours. We just saw some of the Jets walking in costume, but the winner of the costume contest, the unofficial one, is Thomas Morstead, the punter, because he went as a familiar face. He went as the Jets head coach, Jeff Ulbrich, dressed up as number 53, and, of course, paying a little homage to the head coach of the New York Jets, Baldy. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's good. I mean, anybody that knew Jeff as a player, he was a bad dude. Like, he took no guff on anybody, and maybe that's how the Jets will play tonight. Maybe they will basically reenact what the coach played like, how he coaches, and play with that type of toughness tonight, taking the ball away. I saw Quincy Williams before the game coming in, dressed up as the Joker. I said, it'd be good if you just punched one out tonight. Like, you know, they need a little help to give a few extra bats to the offense.
Jets certainly do need some takeaways.
Absolutely.
You know, it's funny, C.J. Mosley, I think it was last week, said, we just saw Jeff Ulbrich, what he looked like as a player.
Yeah.
He said, if you had a mohawk, you're either crazy or you hit really hard.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, both of them. I mean, he did both.
Okay.
He did both. The way that he played. I mean, he had a reputation around the league for his 10 years. Like, this is a guy you didn't mess with. He had that look in his eye game day. Now, he's a nice gentleman off the field, family guy, all that stuff. On the field, he was a different personality.
He went from the backwards hat to the forward ball cap now, as from defensive coordinator to interim head coach. And Quincy, I mean, so far, he's still looking for his first win as head coach of the New York Jets. This is a tough test for the Jets tonight, the 6-2 Houston Texans. However, the Texans are kind of banged up, and we'll hear from Caroline Hendershot on that in a little bit. But what do you think about this opportunity at hand, and what's your vibe from the Jets locker room so far this week?
Yeah, man, listen, I tweeted something this week about how the Jets had 5 losses last year. They have 5 losses this year, and they broke that streak last year against Houston at home. So this is a great opportunity against a Houston team that's damaged, broken. You know, they've got some guys missing. I think this Jets team is looking for a win, searching for a win. They know that if they don't get this win, it's going to look really bleak for the season. So they're going to be fighting. You talk about Ulbrich being a guy that was out there with his hair on fire. I think that's the attitude that they got to come with today.
Yeah, I'm looking for good omens for the New York Jets, and they played their best complete game on a Thursday night when they beat the New England Patriots 24-3. And Q's right. The last time the Houston Texans came to MetLife Stadium, that was a rout. The New York Jets took care of business at 30-6. Dominant performance when they got after C.J. Stroud. That was his most difficult performance of his career, because C.J. Stroud to date has been terrific.
You know, I mentioned the injuries for the Houston Texans. The Jets dealing with some injuries as well. For more on that, let's head inside the stadium real quick to check in with Caroline Hendershot.
Yeah, Ethan, you said it best, because as we approach week 9 in the NFL, there's always going to be mounting injuries, and that's for both the Jets and the Texans. Now, for the Jets, the big one was kicker Greg Zuerlein being placed on IR with a knee injury, so he's out for the next 4 weeks. Who will be taking his place tonight? Riley Patterson. But he's just one name of a lot of guys who are out tonight. That includes Elijah Vera Tucker, Alan Lazard, Ashton Davis, Tony Adams, and C.J. Mosley. Those are just some of the guys who are not going to be on the field tonight. Now, for the Texans, running back Damian Pierce and safety Jimmy Ward are both out with a groin injury, but the big hit came on Tuesday when wide receiver Stephon Diggs was confirmed to have torn his ACL. He was put on IR. That's a season-ending injury. So not only will quarterback C.J. Stroud be without Diggs, he's also without Nico Collins, because Nico Collins is not eligible to return from IR until next week. So we're going to have to see what this Texans offense looks like and what their game plan is with their top 2 wide receivers out for today's game.
He led the league, Baldy, in receiving yards. So now without Nico Collins, without Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, who had a great rookie year last year, is now the Texans' top target. But what are the other options that you see Houston having tonight against the Jets?
Well, they without Nico Collins, they don't have the firepower that they have had last year and parts of this year. They do get Joe Mixon back. He's been back and healthy, and he looked really good last week against Indianapolis. They will feature him. I saw him week 1 against the Colts when he had over 30 carries. Like, they're ready to feed him. But the firepower that comes from Nico and from Stephon won't be there. And so it's John Mechie, it's Robert Woods, it's Xavier Hutchinson. Other guys have to step up. The one thing about, I was talking to Quincy about it, one thing about CJ is if he doesn't like what he sees, his ability to extend plays and find receivers after the X's and O's, like he's very good at keeping his eyes down the field and finding that player in the scramble drill.
And that's Tank Dell, by the way, that you were just looking at on screen, who right now would be the leading Texans receiver that's healthy with 24 receptions, 229 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns in 2024. It is Halloween. You're watching Pregame Central, presented by USVI. So I figured we have some trick-or-treat questions. Let's fire them off. We're going to go in order. We'll start with you, Baldy. Let's fire up the question on screen. Yep. And I believe we have a C.J. Stroud-related question.
Okay.
But I'm waiting for it because I don't remember the exact wording. I want to get it proper. However, I will say
C.J. Stroud will have at least 1 turnover against the New York Jets.
I think he's capable of that. He does take care of the football very well.
Yes.
But the pass rush has to win tonight. Yeah. Like, they need to show up. Quinnen, you got to get Will, like, he needs his 9th or 10th sack tonight. And it would be good if, if they got some help from someplace else, if they get 3 going. Hassan needs to step up tonight. Yeah. That's what they brought him back for. And so, look, this is a team that has been guilty of a lot of penalties, a lot of pre-snap penalties. They've been in a lot of 3rd and longs this year. And so if you could get them in 3rd and long, you could get to C.J. Stroud, you could get the ball out.
So is it you're going a treat for the Jets defense?
They need to treat tonight.
Okay. C.J. Stroud, for what it's worth, EA has done a great job of taking care of the football, like Baldy said. 9 interceptions on 765 career pass attempts. Actually, he and Aaron Rodgers are the only 2 players in NFL history with a passing touchdown rate above 4.0 and an interception rate below 1.5%.
Well, Stroud has the lowest interception rate in NFL history now, and right behind him is Aaron Rodgers. So far this season, Aaron Rodgers, 7 interceptions. That's very uncharacteristic for the Jets signal caller, and he talked about that this week, Q.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that they got to figure out today, and I think it's a great defense to do that against. The receivers now, you got Devontae Adams, you got Garrett Wilson, right? You're out Alan Lazard, but it's time for somebody else to step up. We've seen Conklin come up in the past couple of weeks. Maybe he can really be that 3rd guy for them. Obviously, Breece Hall is always a threat out the backfield.
You know, Quincy, it's time for your trick-or-treat question.
Get it.
You grew up in California. So did C.J. Stroud. So we have another somewhat C.J. Stroud, Inland Empire, that's right. It's somewhat C.J. Stroud related. Yeah. It's really paying ode to what happened last year at MetLife Stadium, kind of like you said. The Jets will have at least 4 sacks tonight against the Houston Texans and take down C.J. Stroud at least 4 times.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a treat for the Jets, right? Okay. I think you look at it last year, they had a lot of pressure. Quinnen Williams was one of the guys that got back there. We saw Quinnen Williams wake up last week. He got a sack. I think it's time for him to really get going. This is another game for him. Reddick is now going to play a few more reps. He's going to put some pressure on the quarterback. This Texas O-line is giving up a lot of pressure all year. Stroud is able to get the ball out quick, but I think it's a little bit different when you've got these guys, McDonald, Reddick, Quinnen. Those guys are really going to be hungry.
Yeah, the Texans have allowed an NFL high 124 pressures this year, Baldy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, they've got a young center. They rotate a left guard sometimes. But regardless, I mean, I expect the Jets to get Quinnen one-on-one with Scruggs, the center. And when he gets one-on-one with the center, he usually pushes him right back into the quarterback's lap. And that's the worst thing for any quarterback, especially a pocket quarterback like C.J. Stroud. He wants to be able to set his feet, step up and throw. And when you get pressure up the middle, it really opens things up for Will and Hassan.
Well, are you surprised by that, though, Baldy? Because Laremy Tunsil's a great player for the Texans.
He's a very consistent player. He does commit a lot of penalties, a lot of pre-snap penalties. I mean, that's just in the books what he has done. I think Titus Howard is very susceptible to great athletes and guys that can turn the corner. And so, look, they're a team. And C.J. Stroud was like this at Ohio State. He wants to get 5 receivers out. He doesn't want to go max protection. He wants to be able to read the coverage and get the ball out. His specialty is just going through progressions. And so he wants 5 out. Well, Okay, you might not get the chips that you get against Quinnen and against Will McDonald that he has seen and seeing right now. So you might get real one-on-ones.
I was really encouraged by what I saw from Quinnen Williams against the Patriots. I thought that was his best performance this season.
Yeah.
And
run and pass.
And now we're going to see Reddick more. He get like 26 snaps last week.
Two quarterback pressures. So I would expect an uptick in terms of how much he's going to play. But the bottom line for the Jets tonight, we're talking a lot about C.J. Stroud. They got to stop Joe Mixon because Joe Mixon has been an impressive running back as anybody in the National Football League so far this season. Yeah, Joe Mixon is actually averaging the most yards per game out of his career after spending the first 7 with Cincinnati. EA, it's time for your trick-or-treat question as we take a look at Solomon Thomas. Caroline mentioned earlier the kicker news. Greg Zuerlein placed on injured reserve. Riley Patterson and one other kicker got signed to the practice squad yesterday. Yeah. Patterson gets signed to the active roster today. Your trick-or-treat question. Riley Patterson will make his first field goal attempt as a New York Jet.
Okay, so it's going to be a sweep for the treats. Because I'm saying he will. This is a great night for kickers. This is October 31st. It was 80-plus degrees today. It is a summer day. So Riley Patterson, his first field goal attempt is going through the uprights.
Okay. Are we going short field goal, we think?
It will be inside of 40 yards.
Inside of 40 yards. Also, really quick, it is Halloween. You guys chocolate people, candy people, neither?
No, you give me as much chocolate as you can get. I'm gonna just like that. I'm gonna put it in the pillowcase like I did when I was a kid. And I'm gonna go through it like day by day until it's gone.
In the pillowcase?
I just took the pillowcase. Let's fill it up.
I got you.
You want Reese's peanut butter cups, Snicker bars? Like I was.
He got it all.
M&Ms. Like I go through it all.
Man, you're gonna make Quincy mad up here because he's watching his calories. I don't think he can eat any sugar.
Well, no, my carbs. I can add to the carbs. So I'm a Sour Patch Kids guy.
What about you, EA?
I like Starburst.
Yeah. Okay, so you're going candy. Baldy's going chocolate.
Yeah,
Quincy,
definitely going candy. Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I go. Again, whatever's in the pillowcase.
Like I just don't want anybody giving anybody an apple. Like
We're
skipping that.
The sugar.
Just don't even open the door if you're gonna do it.
Baldy, we're skipping that house tonight.
Baldy, before we let you go here on Pregame Central, to your left is our skeleton.
Yes.
You have the honor of naming the skeleton. So, do you have a name that you can give us, and that will be the skeleton's name for the rest of the show?
And we anticipate you having a Baldy's breakdown on this.
I'm going obvious here. I'm just going Bones. I'm just going Bones here, okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
Baldy and Bonesy here on Pregame Central, presented by USVI. Are you trying to shake Bonesy's hands?
I'm just trying to get Bonesy a finger here.
You're trying to have matching pinkies.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all the time we have with Brian Baldinger here on Pregame Central, presented by USVI. Let's head back into MetLife to check in with Caroline.
All right, Ethan, I'm joined by our good friend and a good friend of mine, Marty Lyons. Marty, thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure.
Much better on the field with me than on the desk with the boys, am I right?
I don't know. I like the boys, but I love you.
There we go. See, that's what I like to hear. All right, Marty, let's preview tonight's matchup. Now, what do you expect to see from this Jets offense with a very talented Texans defense?
Well, first of all, you hope that the Jets offense come out and they're playing with a lot of rhythm. Mm-hmm. Bang, bang, bang. Get in, get out, make positive yards on first down. Anytime you can pick up those positive yards on first down, make second and third down a lot easier. I'd like to see Aaron spread the ball around, get Breece Hall involved, not just in the running game, the screen game, I think is going to be important tonight.
How big of a challenge is it going to be for this Jets offensive line with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. coming at them?
Well, every game is a challenge for offensive linemen in the NFL. Just do your job. You have got to believe that after losing 5 games in a row, that you can play better than what you have in the last 5 games. Everybody has to take responsibility. Everybody has to play as an individual, take that individual, play as 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and 11 on special teams. Complementary football.
Now, Alan Lazard, he hasn't played for the last couple games, but he's now going to IR. How do you expect that to kind of affect Aaron Rodgers and the offense? Because he has been someone who Aaron Rodgers has targeted when things maybe aren't clicking right away.
Right, but I think what you saw last week with Tyler Conklin, I think you can utilize the tight ends a little bit more in the middle of the field. Keep those safeties from coming up into the box. You may have one high, you may have one low. But as soon as you start attacking the middle of the field with a tight end, they're going to change their defense.
Okay, so let's look at the Texans offense. Now, I spoke about this a little bit earlier. Nico Collins still on IR. Stephon Diggs gets the terrible news that he has an ACL. He's now out for the rest of the season. So what is C.J. Stroud and this Texans offense going to look like without their top two wide
receivers? They're going to play the game. They're going to go Joe Mixon involved. They're going to run inside and outside. I think the important thing that the Jets have got to do that they didn't do last week in New England, they got to protect the edges.
Okay.
They've got to contain them. Otherwise, C.J. Stroud is going to get outside, and he's going to run and pick up some positive yards. You have to contain them. Take care of your passing lanes. Take care of your run lanes. And just say, hey, you know what? We're going to go out there. We're going to have fun, and we're not going to worry about the record. Go out there and pretend like the record doesn't even exist. You've got to start winning games. It starts tonight.
Yeah, playing more loose like Aaron Rodgers has mentioned.
And you've got to have fun.
Right.
You've got to have fun. You've got to have energy. The people here at MetLife, the fans, they're all going to be behind the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got to go out and execute.
Right.
You can't do the big things without doing the little things right the first time.
It seems almost like too silly to say, like, you have to have fun while playing the game, but that is a really big factor.
It is, because it's a very emotional game.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you're not winning, emotionally, you check yourself out, and you don't know how to get back in it. So I think that's where you need your teammate to pick you up and say, hey, guys, we got to play. We got to win. And forget about the outside noise, because everybody has already written the Jets off.
Right.
The only things that matter is what's happening in that locker room.
Right.
And what's happening out here between the lines. They're capable of playing better. They're capable of winning more games, and you're not out of it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You're not out of it. There's 9 games left.
Right, and I think Quincy Enunwa brought up a great point that the Jets had a 5-game losing streak last year. They snapped it on a home game against the Texans where they won 30-6. So I don't know, maybe deja vu is going to come and happen again tonight. Who knows?
Well, you can't live in the past.
Right, you got to live in the
tonight.
present.
You know what? Forget about last year. Forget about last week. What matters tonight is beating the Texans here and going to 3-6.
Last one for you. Who is your person or player to watch for the game, either side of the ball?
Well, I think, I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball. I think Quinn Williams and Quincy Williams, the Williams brothers, have got to get active.
Yep.
Quinnen had a great game last week up there against New England, but I like the way Quincy plays. He plays with a great deal of emotion. When he makes those tackles and he gets up and he's doing the arm pumping, that gets the emotion. I almost have the hair on my arms coming up.
Yeah.
That's the type of emotions you have to have tonight.
Yeah, and that's what we want to see from not only the Jets defense, but also the Jets offense. Awesome. Marty, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure talking to you. Ethan, we'll throw it back to you guys.
Appreciate it, Caroline. Thank you, Marty. You're watching Pregame Central, presented by USVI, and this is Jets Texans, but in a couple weeks, it's going to be Jets Colts, and Jets fans, you can secure your seats for the Jets Salute to Service game as they take on the Colts at MetLife Stadium, November 17th, under the lights, presented by JetBlue. Don't miss out on Jets game day energy. Lock in your seats right now. Limited single game tickets are available at nyjets.com/tickets. It's a spooky set here in the tailgate zone. We had Brian Baldinger. Now we're joined by Jets former defensive lineman Shaun Ellis in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
Good.
How you doing, Shaun? Nice to see you.
Good to see y'all, man.
Yeah, great to see you.
So tonight, it's Jets Texans. We've been talking about it a little bit. The Jets are on a 5-game skid right now, looking to snap a losing streak, get back in the win column. From a player's perspective, just energy-wise, how do you get rid of the sour taste and move on and focus on the task at hand?
For me, it's playoff football now. So you just got to have that mentality, like it's playoff mode. So our playoffs start today.
Yeah.
So just go in with that mindset from the first snap of the game. Just take it all the way through to the end, to the fourth quarter.
Big Cat, you were part of a team in 2002 that started 2-5.
Yeah.
And Herm Edwards said something along the lines of, you play to win the game. And you went out to San Diego, you took care of business against the Chargers, and that team in 2002 ended up winning the division. How were you guys able to turn things around?
I don't know. To be quite honest. Nah. For me, reflecting back on that year, it was just, going to practice, just putting one week in front of the next, and one game at a time. And, once you got out there on the field, you just execute. You just try to execute the game plan the best, to your ability. And, just play football, play with a lot of energy and excitement, and just understand that, tomorrow's not promised. Today is our day. Let's get a W.
Quincy, because we have a defensive lineman on set, I want to talk about this Jets D-line a little bit. EA mentioned Hassan Reddick being one of the guys that's getting back into the fold. The Texans, like Baldy said, have a great left tackle in Laramie Tunsil. But this Jets secondary now going up against a depleted Texans receiving core. When you talk about marrying the pass rush and the secondary, what do you expect maybe tonight from the Jets defense as a whole?
Yeah, well, first off, this is the original Big Cat, right? I played with the young Big Cat, Leonard Williams, right?
Yep,
so it's
that's
cool to
right.
be with
OG
the original,
Big Cat,
right?
yeah.
But, in terms of marrying those two, I think when you think about the DBs, they've had a year of not getting as many turnovers. This is a game where they can really have the pass rush allow them to slow down those receivers and finally get a pick, right? We've been waiting for that pick from the secondary, haven't been able to see it. Turnovers are a big deal, and they really flip the field and change the game. If we can have these defensive linemen create more pressure against C.J. Stroud, who's going to be looking for a target because he's missing two of his top guys, it can really change the state of the game.
Shaun, what's it like for you to come back, be here at MetLife, and see all the fans and this primetime atmosphere?
Oh, man, it's great. When I was coming in, I'm like, just electrifying, just all the memories coming back and, understanding, who they playing tonight and what this game means for them, and start jogging memories in my own head, trying to put myself in those situations and, how do we get ourselves out of it. So, it's just been a lot of thoughts, a lot of good thoughts, happy to be back.
When you look back on your time as a New York Jet, what are some of the memories or the moments that come to top of mind for you?
Well, like I said, that was one, winning the AFC. Second, playing Pittsburgh when we ended up losing.
2010?
No, not 10.
Oh.
One that sticks out in my mind.
You're going back to 04, I think.
04, yeah, man. Oh, that hurt.
Oh, God.
That hurt, yeah. So that was one. And then, positive memories with 09 and 010, those years with Rex. And, it was just great, man. Just great.
How about being part of the four aces there, the 2000 draft class with yourself, John Abraham out of South Carolina, a tight end out of West Virginia by the name of Anthony Becht, and then finally a quarterback out of Marshall, Chad Pennington.
Man, it was great, man. Coming in with them guys, just going through that experience, us four rookies together. Well, Lavernius, he was with us too. So,
third-round pick.
Yeah, he was in our clique, so we grouped him in as well. But, it was great, man. We was close. We stayed close throughout the years. And, just to share that experience with them is just something we'll never forget.
How much do you think, I hear what you guys are talking about, the four aces. I think about 2022 because for the younger Jets fans, that is the equivalent when you think about Sauce Gardner, 4 overall, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson. When you have a young nucleus of talented players, Shaun, can you talk about the bond there and how much that can help a franchise moving forward?
Definitely, because they come here without really knowing each other. So with them coming together, to the same team, that bond that they build off the field, also translate on the field. And, once the vets and they see how close-knit they are, then it just makes it easier to embrace them into, I guess, the brotherhood of the locker room.
What do you make of the current defensive line starting, I guess, inside out when you speak of Quinnen Williams and obviously Will McDonald, second in the National Football League right now in sacks in 8, and Green's just mentioned Jermaine Johnson. Unfortunately, he went out with the Achilles early this season, but the Jets are also trying to incorporate Hassan Reddick into the fold. Yeah.
They got the weapons, so I feel like you just put them out there and let them go.
Yeah.
You got Quinn in the inside. Yeah, make it simple. Big man in the inside 95, just let him go. Let him disrupt the middle, and you got your two edge guys just, coming. So, to me, I feel like it'd be a big night for the D-line to get sacks against them. They can just contain him and keep him in the pocket, and stop the run. I think it'd be a big night.
Let the dogs hunt. Shaun Ellis, we appreciate your time here on Pregame Central, presented by USVI. Again, Jets Texans around the corner. And Jets fans, you have to make sure you never miss a single update. You can text Jets, Jets, to 26154 to receive the latest team news, game day alerts, and more straight to your phone. Terms and conditions do apply. Again, it's Jets Texans around the corner. Kickoff kickoff is at 8:15. This is Aaron Rodgers. This is C.J. Stroud. You're watching Pregame Central presented by USVI. There's a lot of costumes out, which I guess I'm a little surprised by. One, because I'm not a huge Halloween guy. Two, because I'm appreciative of the dedication of Jets fans. And, you know, that includes Bones, which is our skeleton here on set. It's Fred Flintstone? Is that what we're thinking here?
Or Barney Rubble?
I'm thinking it's Flintstone. I mean, the hat is a costume enough. That's a big hat. But then you add in the tiger suit. I'm going with the Flintstone here. And I didn't think it was Tony the Tiger. I'll put it that way. That was close to it.
The fans are saying it's Fred.
Fred?
Yeah. Yep.
Fred It's Fred. Yeah, I heard that. It's Fred Flintstone. You're watching Pregame Central presented by USVI. I'm not a Flintstones guy. Don't throw shade at me.
Hey, before we keep on talking about Jets-Texans tonight, I would like to say that Shaun Ellis is one of the most underrated players in the history of this franchise. He played more than 10 seasons at the defensive end position. He had 73.5 sacks. He was just a guy who brought consistency to the game, and I loved the way he played.
I like what Quincy said. Big cat, the OG. And then the young cat.
EA, our resident historian. Always keeping it informed.
That's right. Okay, so it's time for our X Factor here on Pregame Central presented by USVI. As always, we're going to go back inside the stadium, and let's start with Caroline.
All right, my X factor for tonight is going to be running back Joe Mixon for the Texans. And that's because, obviously, I talked about this earlier. Nico Collins is still on IR. Stephon Diggs is out with that ACL. So, obviously, they're going to be missing their two top wide receivers. Now, on top of that, the Jets' defense ranks second in pass yards allowed per game. So, I don't think that C.J. Stroud is going to be as inclined as he normally would to throw the ball. Now, that obviously leaves the very dynamic and the do-it-all back Joe Mixon. That's going to be tough for the Jets defense. They've been focusing on stopping the run these past few weeks, so I'd like to see that in action tonight. If they can shut him down, it should be good.
Before you go, Quincy, I just want to say Joe Mixon is one of three players averaging at least 100 rushing yards per game in weeks 6 through 8. He's third in the NFL in scrimmage yards. Number one is Breece Hall, so very talented in that aspect. Quincy, where are you going for your X factor?
Yeah, so I think when you think about this Houston defense, the top 10 in blitz, we've been facing blitz teams over and over again, and one of the biggest issues that we talked about is the receivers not getting open. So I think that giving Aaron Rodgers a target. If he can get the ball out, which he does, he gets the ball out really quick, but if he can make those completions, it causes them to move down the field, complete those third downs. First and second down, they've been really slow. They put themselves in third and unmanageable, and it just killed their drives. If they can make these completions, it'll really change the course of the game.
All right, I'm going to flip it to the other side of the ball. I'm taking the Jets pass rush. Yes, the Jets do have to contain Joe Mixon tonight, but when you're talking about that Texans offensive line, 124 pressures leads the National Football League. C.J. Stroud is without his top target so far this year, Stephon Diggs, and also Nico Collins. Nico Collins is coming back. Diggs is not coming back. So you have to count for Tank Dell. But the Jets stop the run and get after the quarterback, have another dominant performance from Quinnen Williams, get Hassan Reddick some more snaps, and maybe Will McDonald will inch his way towards 10.
I like where your head's at. I'm going, as we take a look at C.J. Stroud, I'm going with the Jets tackles here because the guys that rushed the Jets tackles are Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, a pair of very talented bookends. Anderson, 7.5 sacks this season. The Texans lead the NFL in pressure rate. Danielle Hunter leads the league with 51 pressures, and he also has 5.5 sacks. So you're talking about 13 sacks combined between those guys. The Jets right now allowing a 25.1 QB pressure rate in 2024, which is the lowest mark in the NFL. But Quincy, Aaron Rodgers likes to get the ball out quickly. We know that. We haven't really discussed a whole lot of what we expect from Aaron Rodgers tonight against the Texans. He said he feels more mobile. To EA's point, the last time the Jets played on Thursday Night Football under the lights here at MetLife, Rodgers was moving laterally, and he looked very good, probably the most complete game from the offense. With no Allen Lazard in the lineup, What do you expect from Rodgers tonight?
Yeah, I'm looking for a Week 3 Aaron Rodgers against the Patriots, right? He was all over the field, moving around. I think that really extended plays and allowed them to move down the field a lot easier. I think it's important here because you're talking about a team that plays a lot of man blitz, so they're going to have their DBs not looking back. So if he can evade the pressure, if he wants to get down the field, he can do that. We saw him do that this year. We just haven't seen him continue to do that. If that cayenne pepper is really working like he said it was, then we're going to see him able to move around. Those receivers can get some opportunities to get some down the field, and that's what we love from Aaron Rodgers, the second play, right? Not the first one where it's like, okay, this is my first read, but now getting out the pocket, receivers are doing some scramble drill.
Interesting dynamic right now because Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson are cooking, okay? Davante Adams, 2 games with the Jets so far, 7 receptions. I think that the Patriots had to really take into account where's Davante Adams, so that opens up more space for Garrett Wilson. The third receiver, though, for the Jets, who's it going to be today? Is it going to be Breece Hall out of the backfield? Is it Tyler Conklin? Because Alan Lazard is now on injured reserve. So not only is he out tonight, he's got 5 touchdown receptions on the year. He's going to be out for at least 3 more games following tonight.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I'm glad Quincy brought up the cayenne pepper because earlier this week, Aaron Rodgers made a joke that, like, Thomas Morstead gave me a little trick in the fountain of youth, put a little cayenne pepper in the water, and Thomas Morstead took to Twitter. He said he wasn't trolling. He's standing on business. Those are cayenne pepper socks, I believe. And so that's Brian Baldinger was up here as he was hanging out with Bones, our skeleton.
Man, Morstead's got a lot of time on his hands.
He does. Well, he likes selfies. He likes tweets. He's very active on social media. And the New York Jets Fan Hall of Fame presented by Ticketmaster, it's back, and you can celebrate the most passionate diehard fans in the game. Submit your nomination today and tell us why you or someone you know bleeds green. Enter now at nyjets.com/Fan Hall of Fame for your chance to be immortalized alongside the best fans in the world. Jets Fan Hall of Fame, where real fans live forever. You're watching Pregame Central presented by USVI on a spooky Halloween night. Jets Texans around the corner. It's time for tomorrow's headlines. So with that being said, Quincy, as always, you're batting leadoff.
Yeah, I like this one.
What word pun are you going with tonight?
It's a beautiful one, baby. I'm going with deja vu.
Whoa.
Right? So why do I say that? I talked about it earlier. They had a 5-game losing streak against Houston. This year they have another 5-game losing streak. They won last year. Maybe it's a little bit of deja vu on Halloween. You get a chance to win against Houston at home again and start to get these wins going.
All right, I like this Texans defensive line. But the secondary, they can give up big plays. Garrett Wilson, 3 of the past 4 games, over 100. Make that 4 out of 5. Wilson hits a hundo against Houston. That's what's going to happen tonight. And the other thing that I really enjoyed against the Patriots was that Aaron Rodgers got the ball down the field to Wilson. He averaged more than 22 yards a pop. You need explosive plays, and I think Garrett Wilson's going to deliver again tonight.
And, of course, this matchup, whether it's Davante or Garrett Wilson against Derek Stingley, is another one of the players, as in Stingley, from the 2022 draft class. Of course, Sauce Gardner and Derek Stingley, I believe, taken back-to-back 3rd overall and 4th overall. And for me, and my headline, I was wondering, how do I also include a little bit of word pun? It was hard for me, so I just went with some classic alliteration. I was talking about how the Jets' spooky secondary, or the secondary, will spook the Texans because, like we've talked about before, no Nico Collins, no Stephon Diggs. Last year, C.J. Stroud against the Jets had his worst statistical performance. He was missing Nico Collins for most of that game. He was missing Tank Dell in that game, actually. So I'm interested to see how C.J. Stroud's going to navigate this Jets defense without his top targets. And, we haven't really spoken about Stephon Diggs a whole lot. Quincy, when you saw what he's done in his first year in Houston, what do you think that now the Texans are missing?
Yeah, well, you think about the last game, that was probably his best game, and it's unfortunate that that's the one that he was lost in, but he really could have changed how they kind of operated. You have 3 receivers that are really talented. You never really got a chance to see them all at their best, which is great for us as Jets, but I think for them, it'll be interesting to see where they go. You might see something similar from last year when Nico Collins comes back, but Stephon Diggs is a big blow, especially when Nico Collins isn't in right now.
Yeah, all right, so it's now 6:45. which means that the inactives for Jets-Texans are live. And for the New York Jets, Carter Warren, Izzy Abanikanda, Elijah Vera-Tucker, Ashton Davis, Tony Adams, C.J. Mosley, and Quantez Stiggers, the inactives for tonight's game. Jarius Monroe and Kendall Sheffield are the two practice squad call-ups. And that's all the time we have here on Pregame Central. For Bones, for Quincy Enunwa, for Eric Allen, I'm Ethan Greenberg. Be sure to stay tuned after the game when EA and Quincy break it all down on Jets Overtime.